Alright boys and girls, today we are going to talk all things Cyrodiil and my ideas on how to fix it. So Emperor, ball groups, night capping, all of these things we're going to discuss. It's a long video, so let's get straight into it. Alright, let's get some of the easier ones out of the way first. And the queue system has been heavily talked about, and there's been a lot of people that have been very pissed off about the very long queue times in Cyrodiil. Now, I think a lot of people are just more pissed off at the queue system itself than the actual queue times. Getting 90% of the way through a queue and then having a bug or crashing or something like that is what's making a lot of people very mad. So obviously fixing these things can greatly improve, everyone's happiness, but I think they just need to fundamentally rework queue system altogether and make it so you can do battlegrounds and dungeons and all that kind of stuff while you're waiting for your queue, and they could add in a third button. So, they've got accept, decline, they could add in not now, so if you click that not now, it won't ask you, or will just put you back in the queue, not all the way back at the end, but, somewhere, so it gives you a few more minutes to finish the battleground or finish the dungeon or whatever, and then you can accept the queue. So I think that could be a pretty good way. I think ZeniMax will add in another campaign, and I don't know how I feel about lifting the campaign cap. I think this is a slippery slope and could potentially make performance a lot worse. So I don't think that is the best result. Alright, let's talk Emperor. As someone that's been Emperor 6 times, weird flex, yep. Anyway, it has problems, and the biggest fundamental issue is it's not skill based, it's how long you can play for. So if you've got a healthy crack addiction, your chances of getting Emperor is very, very high. So how do we fix that? Easy, and I can't believe it hasn't already been done, is you limit AP gain to the leaderboards to say 8 hours or maybe even 12 hours. A lot of people can play for 8 hours or 12 hours, not many people can play for fucking 20 hours a day. So I think that would greatly improve the accessibility to Emperor for a lot of people. The other big issue with Emperor is once someone does get Emperor, it's very hard to catch that person because the AP gain as Emperor is just huge. It's very easy to get mass amounts of AP. So just limiting the AP gain to an Emperor is the simplest, it just makes sense. So nerfing AP gain to an Emperor by 35% or 50% would solve this issue. I see a lot of people shouting and yelling that Emperors should be kicked from the campaign once they get Emperor once. That's just a dumb idea. Now, I have some pretty damn interesting ideas on how to rework Emperor altogether. This video is already very long, so that will be its own video. So if you want to check that out, sub to the channel would be greatly appreciated. And let's move on. So the next one is actually probably the easiest on all these lists to fix, but for some reason seems to be the most complicated one for ZeniMax to fix. And a lot of player input on this is stupid. I don't think people understand the game very well. And that is ball groups. Ball groups are a problem. And the easiest way to fix them is to fix healing and stop healing from stacking. These guys are stacking freaking 12 rapid regens on top of each other, 12 resolving vigors. This is why no one's dying. So stopping heals from stacking would go a fucking long way to fixing the ball group issue. Now, obviously it's not the only problem, but it is the biggest problem. One that I see a lot, actually scarily a lot, is buff Siege. Siege is the answer. Siege, buff Siege. That will fix the ball groups. We'll fuck ball groups up with Siege. Buff it by 10,000%. I'll one-shot ball groups with Siege. Oh my fucking god, how dumb are you guys? Like, do they not understand that a ball group is an organized group, organized sets, organized skills, organized all this stuff? They're going to deal with Siege being buffed. You know who isn't going to deal with Siege being buffed? You. Yeah, you're going to get one shot by Siege because you don't have the tools to deal with it. And then you'll be on the forums bitching about it. So buffing Siege is not the answer to ball groups. It never has been, it never will be. Let's move on. So next up is the most bullshit out of all these, night capping. The fundamental understanding from Americans is they're the only time zone in the whole fucking world. Now obviously this isn't true and night capping is bullshit, but the consequences and the effects of what they're calling night capping is very real. So basically it's, you know, people logging on at 4 a.m. in American time and, you know, the server's kind of dead and they take the whole map and, you know, there's nothing anyone can do about it because they're 3 bars and everyone else is 1 bar. So how do we fix this? Movement's the biggest issue. Being gated is not pleasant, so, you know, generally it's not pleasant because if the fight is in EP, home base, and so on, it takes forever for you to get there. And generally you're right all the way over there to get zerged out. So the easy way of fixing this is opening the towns up to be spawned to at any time. Doesn't matter if you own them or not, you can spawn to their towns. This just opens up and frees up movement in Cyrodiil as a whole, and I think would just make the game a lot better in a lot of scenarios. There is some downsides to this, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Other stuff we can do is basically, you know, encourage factions to not gate in the first place. So how do we do this? I think removing the triangle keeps from the scoreboard is one. So basically, you know, they don't get extra points for owning the triangle keeps. What I mean by the triangle keeps is your 2 home keeps and the next one along. Secondly, I think we need to put a negative effect on that. So this could be somewhat timed. So say, you know, for 10 minutes, they don't get the negative effect. After that, they do. But basically, fundamentally, if they own your triangle keeps, they have a nerf on them. So maybe 5% less damage or 5% less healing for another one. Basically, to try and encourage factions not to hold on to these keeps. You know, they can go get the scrolls, run off with the scrolls, and, you know, that's fine. But you don't want them to continue to try and hold on to those keeps, because, once again, it's not fun to be gated. Finally, and lastly, the last thing that I think needs to be looked at is low pop bonus. Now, a lot of people don't really understand low pop bonus. I see a lot of confusion around it a lot of the time, because you'll see AD with, say, 3 bars, but they've got low pop bonus. And this is for a few reasons, and as far as I understand, if you're actually low pop, you generally don't get low pop bonus. It'll wait till you do have some population, then you get low pop, because there's no point having extra AP gain if you still can't take anything on the map. So this is why generally you'll see factions get low pop bonus when they do have some population rather when they don't have population. For the scoreboard, this works completely fine. It does help out, even out the score a lot in Cyrodiil. But to actually, for combat, this doesn't really do anything. So I think low pop bonus needs to come with an instant player buff. So once again, these would be ZeniMax's job to balance these out and work out something that would be strong but not too OP. But you know, if you're low pop, you once again get a bit of extra damage or a bit of extra healing or a bit extra something, just to help counteract the fact that you are very severely undermanned. All these things aren't obviously going to be a miracle fix for these problems, but all of them combined, I think, could make Cyrodiil a lot better place for a faction that is severely undermanned. Lastly, faction lock. Faction lock needs to fuck off. Seriously, faction lock needs to go bye-byes. Here's a scenario that I'll put for you. If EP has 3 bars or zerging the fuck out of the map, a lot of people, say 20% of those people, want fights. So they would happily log on a DC character to fight the EP. And if there's 20% leaving EP to go to DC, that's a 40% swing in population. So that could be a big difference between EP zerging the map to death to EP having some actual resistance and actual fighting. Also, if you are giving low pop bonuses and stuff like that, that would further encourage people to swap to that faction. So it would help even the numbers out even more. And I know the whole reason why we have faction lock is because of spies and because of people that want to dick the faction over. I'll tell you, I'll let you in on a little secret. This still happens. like actually still happens. There is people that have 2 computers and 2 accounts to spy on other factions. People ask their friends on other factions. Like, faction lock doesn't stop anything that you think it stops, it just fucks everything else over. So it needs to go, and I know people have said that, you know, ZOS will sell less faction change tokens, and I don't think this is strictly true either, because I could potentially spend more money on faction change tokens by swapping tunes back and forth in the same campaign. So if I only have 1 DK and I want to go play DC, then play EP the next day, then I'm going to be spending a lot more on faction change tokens. So I don't think ZeniMax would lose money. They could potentially make money out of this change. But yeah, that's enough for this whole, you know, night capping and whole freaking issue basically. Alright, so the last thing we'll touch on is kind of zergs in general and how zergy the game has become since the PvP's been fixed. So I know there'll be at least one person that'll be like, yeah, but this game's meant for large scale, it's meant for fucking zerg v zerg fights, and that's fine. Like, that's completely understandable. If you want to do that, you enjoy doing that, that's fine, but there is a lot of other people that do want smaller fights and do want to be able to do smaller stuff in Cyrodiil. And at the moment, it's practically impossible because wherever you go, you get 30v1, as this clip. Oh my fucking god, can I not get zerged down everywhere I fucking go? Like, I was so fucking pissed that day because I would show up somewhere and instantly get 30v1'd. And that's not fun. Like, it's not fun, and you can say it's a Zerg game all you want, but just imagine if the way you like to play was getting fucked in the ass every day in and out. You wouldn't be happy. So just understand that just because you want a Zerg and you enjoy it doesn't mean everyone else does. So that being said, what can we do about it? And I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing that needs to happen is a rework of the AP system. So to basically greatly lower, or now I know people get mad when I say nerf stuff. So let's go the other way. They need to greatly buff small man and solo AP game. And I disagree with the base AP that you get from a keep. I think they should get rid of that. So there, you know, the pool is just split like it used to be. So this used to be the way AP worked for a long time. They just need to try and lower that AP gain, because if a lot of people are in it for the AP, so, you know, if they can get in smaller fights and earn a lot more AP, this will encourage them to do so. It could have a kick-on effect with Emperor as well to help, you know, people that don't want to Zerg as much to get Emperor. But obviously this isn't going to fix it itself, so I think having events like Dolmens, basically random pop-up things that can happen around Cyrodiil to kind of encourage people to, you know, not blob up on the map. And, you know, Dolmens used to work very well for this, so maybe you could just make them great again, give them buffs or give them gear that is worth farm, just make it worth doing so people do consistently do that. Now, someone in the comment section is probably going to say, I do Dolmens, that's fine. Most people don't. And it doesn't have to be Dolmens. It could be, you know, anything. Pop-up bosses that drop gear. I don't know. Like, just some kind of cool event. And a lot of people have probably been, Johnny, you haven't talked about the hammer, I don't have a whole lot to say about the hammer. And I know a lot of people kind of say it causes lag and it causes problems. And that's not really true now the server's fixed. But even back then, I think it was just people confusing a massive fight lagging the server out and blaming the hammer. Like, if the hammer wasn't there and that same fight was there, then it would have still it lagged. I couldn't care if the hammer was deleted from the game. I can't care if it stays in the game. If ZOS wants it to function the way that it was intended, and that was to help the lower pop faction be able to push on the map, then they do need to greatly rework it. And how it needs to be reworked, I really don't know. It probably needs a pretty strong self-heal, I think would help a lot, because, you know, it's really easy for a 20-man group to heal the shit out of the hammer, but, you know, a faction that doesn't have many players on it, you know, might not have a healer, and if you don't have a healer with the hammer's basically screwed. So, yeah, I don't know. This has kind of been the hardest one to kind of come up with a clear fix, and I don't think there is a clear fix. It's just trying to change the player mindset and reward them. As I said, buff the shit out of solo and small man AP gain, you know, so there's a reward there for them to take it, you know, and venture out by themselves. You know, greatly improve maybe like the AP gain for small man flipping resources or something. I don't know. Like, it's just been a rough week. Like, it really has been a rough week. Just showing up fucking no matter where it is on the map and getting 20v1 is just not fun. So that being said, I'm rebuilding my guild, so I will have more information. I'm looking for officers at the moment, so if you would be interested in helping me with some of the back end stuff with guild related stuff, let me know. Hit me up in Discord, hit me up on stream, and we can have a chat about it. That being said, there's a lot of stuff I want to go into this video, so a lot more detail, healing, and with combat in PvP, and a lot of these topics are going to have their own separate video coming up in the future. I just couldn't fit it all in this video. It's already a pretty long one, but let me know in the comments section what you think about these ideas, and just keep in mind that I did try and keep this in the sense that it's something that ZeniMax realistically could do, because I didn't want to, you know, go out there with these crazy ideas, and I do have some crazy ideas on how to rework a lot of stuff. I wanted it to be semi-realistic. So let me know in the comments if I done a good job, and if you agree. If you disagree, there's the door, I guess. But anyway, boys and girls, I love you all. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.